Welcome to Spiritual Connection Show. I'm your host, Katie Augustine. So I'm a transformation coach, I'm an energy healer, I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm the spiritual head of the Transformation Center CT, which is located in Westport, Connecticut. So at the center, we do a variety of workshops, we have trainings, sometimes we have retreats, and every month we have satsang, which is Sanskrit for in the company of the truth. It's usually the fourth or third or sometimes fifth Wednesday evening of each month, and you're welcome to come. If you're new to it, it's basically just an evening. Sometimes we do meditation, chanting. It's just a really nice, relaxing time to spend with yourself and just kind of unwind from your day and be in the company of others who enjoy the same thing. We also have a monthly shamanic clinic. And this is an opportunity, if you're not familiar with shamanism, to learn more about it and to actually experience a little brief mini session of about 30 minutes with a certified shamanic practitioner. You can sign up in advance, and it's by contribution, by donation. So it's like a community service that we do once a month. So check it out on the website, and everything else that's going on at the same time you can find out. It's transformationcenterct.com. So thank you for joining us tonight. You know, the Spiritual Connection Show is all about connection. It's an opportunity to connect with each other, as well as for us to connect more fully with our own spiritual selves. And as you know, I have a guest each week, so it's also an opportunity for you to meet various people in our community and find out what their spiritual journey has been, and therefore learn something about yourself, as well as find out what they do, what services they offer. So thanks again for joining us tonight. I'm happy you're here. So my guest tonight is Katharina.
Oh, you got it, Katharina Capone.
Capone, I knew there was a difference, Capone. So welcome to the show, Katharina.
Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just say a little bit about you before we get started, and next time I'll pronounce your name correctly. So Katharina is a yoga teacher. She's also a recent owner of Yoga 203, which is right here on Wall Street in Norwalk. And it's really a fabulous studio. We're gonna hear more about this in a minute. But you know, the first thing I always ask my guest, because I'm really curious, is tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey thus far. Anything you want to share about that?
Well, as we were kind of talking before the show got going, and I was saying how in school I had majored in journalism and getting to face the realities of dealing with hard news and getting out of sort of more of a college life into the reality of real world, I found yoga just during that path of being in school and the stresses of exams, kind of the high pressure of, you know, wanting to meet a certain standard, having issues with self-esteem, with, you know, the comparison of everyone on campus. And so as I found yoga, it just seemed to be something that I didn't even know I needed or that I liked in the moment. I was always someone who was much more, let's go to the gym, have to work really hard. And then to kind of meet this softer edge of movement, to me was kind of this aha moment. Everything doesn't have to be so push and so give. And it really let me kind of have moments where I got to take for myself and pause. And it really just opened my eyes to being kinder to myself as you meet yoga teachers and you just sometimes meet the right one. And they just say these things. It sometimes isn't even about the movement. It's the words and the encouragement of kind of slowing down, getting to know yourself, appreciating yourself. And that's really what I got hooked on before the physical practice.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So it sounds like it kind of opened up something in you that perhaps you weren't aware of. Is that kind of how you would say it?
Absolutely. And we were speaking about how things can just become such a habit, and habit in a sense can almost feel like this positive addiction, and it really opened up a whole new side of me because, you know, I found it when I was young, and like anyone who's young, you're maybe going out more often than you should, staying out later than would be, you know, what you would do later in life, and all of that kind of seemed less important as I got into my yoga practice. And so it just opened up knowing that there's a lot more potential to myself, that all of a sudden the things that seemed important, you outgrow. And that it's okay to sometimes outgrow things, but you outgrow certain friends and relationships and hobbies because all of a sudden your path is taking you elsewhere. And I felt that getting into yoga really led me into a completely other direction than I saw life taking me.
Wow, so it did. It just kind of took you from one place and kind of put you on a different path.
In a slow way,
In
but
a way.
absolutely.
And so you weren't necessarily aware of it from the beginning. It
Absolutely
just kind of
not.
It evolved.
I always tell people when I meet them and they do yoga and they're uncertain about it at first, I felt absolutely the same way. Here I am in my college gymnasium. It's not really the place I could imagine a spiritual awakening, so to speak. But there was something about it that I definitely enjoyed. And next thing you know, I'm doing YouTube videos every day and I'm joining a yoga studio so that I can feel more in tune with a sacred space to find that connection. And at first it's sort of, you're not sure what you like, but you just keep showing up. And I think when you just keep showing up, it shows itself to you.
So you were really dedicated to finding out as much as you could.
Absolutely, because it is, as you know, a spiritual path, and sometimes the path is walking through the door 100 times until you even realize this is where I want to stay.
Yeah, and further, it's a lifelong journey, so we don't really arrive at our destination. You know, we just keep going, right?
Absolutely, and sometimes you don't even know the trajectory, and that's what's kind of amazing.
So you learned a lot about yourself while you were practicing yoga and all these different forms and everything. What is there something specific that you learned, or?
I just find that it just kind of taught me that there's a kinder side of myself to myself. I just think, you know, a lot of people deal with the pressure of living up to a certain expectation, whether it's that you give yourself or from your family, meeting grades, wanting to look a certain way, thinking that life is supposed to go, you know, from point A to point B to point C, and that we're supposed to know exactly what those things are. And it kind of just taught me to have a more positive self-talk, to enjoy the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, to appreciate that I don't have to exactly know, like you said, the destination, and that by showing up every day and just continuing this practice, it led me towards a path or destination that I didn't see coming, but because of it, it became something amazing that I wasn't even ready for or even knew was going to happen.
Well, that's what I'm really curious about. How did that happen? Where were you before here, and how did you get here? And
Yeah, so I moved to Connecticut a little over a year ago from Baltimore, Maryland. And I lived there for about 13 years, and I worked in the yoga industry there for about 6 years, and I worked in hard news, and then from news, in marketing, I kind of always had yoga lingering in the background, and eventually just, you know, I got lucky and my yoga path or career kind of took itself to a place where I got to step aside from the so-called 9-to-5 job and just got to go out and meet people and teach yoga and get completely invested 100% in building a community and connection with people. And I'm very fortunate that life let me do that full time. And I ended up moving to Connecticut with my partner. We decided, you know, we wanted to move. There's more places out there in the world, and we didn't want to be too stagnant where we were. Even though for myself, that was quite scary to leave the comfort of my job and my network and my friends and everything that I felt really built me into the person that I was until that moment. But life is just full of serendipitous moments, and I came here and I had no idea what I was going to do. I got really lucky starting to teach yoga from place to place. And then I walked into an absolutely gorgeous yoga studio that I found was teetering on the decision of continuing to be a business or not. And I always say a little bit of crazy, a little bit of just intuition. I just decided to take the leap and didn't want to see those doors close, and decided to take over the business, and have been the owner of Yoga 203 now for 9 months.
That's
And
amazing.
it's been amazing.
Wow. So you weren't looking for it. It just found you, is what it seems.
It absolutely just found me, fell in my lap, and it really couldn't have been anything better. It's
Yeah.
been an amazing journey, and it shows you everything's a lesson. Every day I'm learning, but every day I'm smiling and so grateful that I get to do what I love to do day in
Yeah.
and day out.
Wow, I'm so proud of you. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's been very exciting. It's been a whirlwind. A lot of people, my friends, feel like it's crazy, it's daring, and I think part of that does come into the yoga practice, or whether it's yoga or meditation, but there's something that comes from participating in that every day and getting to really believe in yourself. And it takes a lot of believing in yourself to sometimes even want to whisper what your dreams are, or to admit that your dreams are so big. And this was kind of amazing to be able to admit my dreams are that big. And I do think with, my spirit and just hoping with my passion that this is something I could do. And so far it's happening and it's going, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so far so good. That's really cool. So what would you characterize as the most challenging part of what you do, or what you've had to do regarding this new business?
It's challenging in so many ways. I've kind of said every day I'm learning. I've never been a business owner before. I've worked in the yoga industry. I know the in and outs of yoga and teaching yoga, the philosophy, but then to all of a sudden be the person who's in charge of marketing and putting the information out there. How do I get clients through the door? It's just been a lot of challenges in the sense of learning, but I think the biggest thing I'm learning is to just keep doing everything 100%. Don't doubt yourself. And when you have passion and heart, it shows, and it just connects with the right people.
Yeah, because it seems that way, that people are finding you, and you've learned along the way, but it seems like it's going well.
It is.
So I think it is a beautiful studio, because I've been there a bunch of times. What would you say characterizes or makes Yoga 203 different from other yoga studios around?
I think, something every yoga studio strives for is to be a yoga studio for everyone and every body, and that meaning physical body, whether that's, if you categorize yourself tall, short, lean, large, these are things that we give ourselves, but that doesn't mean that's who we are. We kind of create all the adjectives that we describe ourselves. And I think we're just really succeeding in actually being a space for everyone, where there isn't so much this feeling that I felt in many places of competitiveness, whether it's student to student competitiveness of who's going to get that handstand, or teacher to teacher on who's going to teach more yoga classes. It's just a full-on community. We all support each other. I know everything about everyone that comes through the door. We're not really trying to teach classes that are going to be the most challenging or the craziest pose that you've ever seen. It's just really teaching people that yoga is not about touching your toes or standing on your head, but it's about when you show up and do something consistently, that you're always kind of unlocking and learning something about yourself. And so we're more catering towards that inner feeling that outer work gives you.
Oh, wow, that's a great way to describe it. And it sounds familiar, because that's pretty much what happened to you when you started your yoga.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. It's funny how that kind of comes full circle.
It does. You don't even know what, you tell your story, you describe, what you're doing, and somehow it all just interconnects without even thinking ahead of time. What would I say? I don't know. And it all just shows itself. It all unfolds.
Right. Well, it's clear this is your authentic self, so you're connecting with other people and helping them realize what's possible for them. That's really what it's all about. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you do work with beginners then, obviously.
We do, yeah, absolutely. It's a huge group of people who come to the studio, and it's just important, again, that yoga isn't all these crazy pictures that we sometimes see in the media. Sometimes it's just learning to sit still with yourself, to take in positive information from other people until that almost becomes memory, and you're hearing it in your own voice, and you're telling it to yourself finally. Just breathe, just relax, accepting this person. And as you get to that, then, the poses come along, but I find that the poses are not the most important aspect. It's just being there, enjoying yourself, finding a community and group of people that you connect and relate with, and then everything else kind of comes along with it.
This is so encouraging for me to hear. We didn't talk about this, but I've tried different yoga studios, and I've never really stuck it out to find that community. So it's so interesting you would say that, because maybe that's what I kind of miss, that part,
Yeah, I think of everyone who comes in as my friend, and I'm genuinely so excited to see people, and if I haven't seen them in a while, it's always, I'm so glad you're back. Where have you been? What's been going on? I love to hear everyone's vacation stories, going to visit their kids in college. And there is such an excitement when there's just real, genuine human connection, and that's what I think is like the fuel to the business.
Yeah, well, I think that does make a huge difference. And in this day and age, when we're all so kind of in our own little worlds with our phone or our social media, it's not really social, it's just kind of fake social media. I mean, social, but you know what I'm saying. It's not real connection.
I'm very guilty of lots of phone time, so I definitely know.
Yeah, but I think it's important. People seem to be realizing that they need both.
And I think what's so great, whether it's yoga or honestly, I say whatever you're doing in your life, whatever your fitness is, I think sometimes it's just such a necessary hour that you put your stuff aside, your wallet, your cell phone, and even if it's just 60 minutes, it's 60 minutes that you are undisturbed by media images, inspirational or non-inspirational quotes that you can read, the news and how it can be so heavy on you. Sometimes that's the only hour we get where our phone isn't beeping with, whoever your news station is with updates of what's going on, your friends texting you this and texting you that. You're just alone and moving and de-stressing.
Yeah, no, that's important. I have to remember that, so I'll have to come back and give it another try.
Definitely do.
And you do other things at the studio as well besides your yoga classes? You have different workshops and...
Yeah, I mean, yoga right now is definitely a primary focus. I know a lot of times studios want to veer in a lot of directions, and my biggest, thing right now is to just let people know that we are a yoga studio offering quality yoga to all levels of people. So, we have gentle yoga, which is just relaxing and stretching. We have things like Restore, being supported in props, really holding things slowly. So reminding people it doesn't always have to be about the effort. And then we go all the way up to, of course, having things like Vinyasa yoga, which you hear more often about. But beyond the yoga, we do have some meditations that happen. Either it's every other week or once a week, just depending on our people who facilitate that meditation. We once in a while will have workshops, sound baths, yoga with essential oils, building your community through yoga. So all sorts of things are happening there.
So why do you think that people either A, start the practice, or B, stop?
And I think it comes down to a lot of how you said, I've done yoga, I don't stick with it. It's this kind of magic moment when you go to just the right yoga studio and you have the right yoga teacher and you have this aha, like this feels good. And what they said was so relatable. And I've done yoga at many, many places. And when I travel, I might even just take one yoga class and I could be somewhere I'll never go back because I'm not from there, but I could have a magical moment. That was perfect. This was the teacher for me. Or I could have a moment, everyone's different, but maybe that wasn't my style. And so it's just that knowing that, just like anything, just like food. Oh, I don't like spicy food. It's too hot. Well, let me try it with a little less pepper. Yoga's the same way. You just keep showing up and you just keep trying if you're willing to explore, and you will finally find that person that's encouraging you, inspiring you, and all of a sudden you yourself are just feeling like a better person for putting that work in.
Okay, so they're looking for something. You may not know what you're looking for, but when you find it, that's what it's for you.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a certain thing that it is. It's just kind of this feeling that this is the right person or this is the right place.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, that's definitely what we're building from, is just letting people feel this is the right place and these are the right people for me, and I want to be surrounded by these people more often.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because what it is, it seems like it's how it makes you feel.
Absolutely. I mean,
that's really what it's about.
As either a teacher or the owner, it's not about how I feel. Granted, I feel great, and I think all the teachers that, are offering classes at the studio, I think they feel wonderful, but that's not the result. Like, when you're there teaching a yoga class, it's just about how can I make this person, maybe feel like this is the best moment of their day. I mean, we're all such busy people. Either it's getting kids ready for school, then going to our job, or being with kids all day, or whatever it is. We all have, that quote, we all have a story that you just don't know from looking at someone. And so if we can do something to make you feel like this gave me that moment of relief, and you kind of could sigh and feel the day kind of wash away from you, then the job's been done right.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful way of describing it. That's great. So then what happens, so people just they just don't find the right thing? Is that why they don't stick with it? Is that, I'm just trying to, probably. Or their life, they're too busy.
It could be a million things.
Yeah.
We are very, very busy people, so I think it just comes down to we're always going to be busy, and we can always say we're busy. And, I think we're all guilty of it, myself. I'm sure you, we just are busy people. And so it comes to a point, how do I prioritize this? And if you want to make it a priority, we hopefully will find the time and way to. But I do understand, of course, that that's sometimes not always going to work for us. So I don't ever want to say, oh, if you didn't make it a priority, then, oh wow, that's not necessarily how it works. But just putting the time and energy, and it just has to come from you. Are you passionate about it? And if you are, then hopefully it happens for you.
Yeah, no, I think making it a priority is the first step. Certainly, that has to be there, because it is a commitment. But the other thing that it seems like it does help in so many other aspects of your life. If you have that moment or that hour where you can be with yourself and spend, just like you're saying, just lets a lot of the day go, and just feel like you're being filled up with something instead of drained, then that has to, speaking for myself, it definitely carries over into other areas of my life. I feel more grounded, more centered. I can accomplish more in other parts of my life, when I do meditation, or when I do get to yoga. But meditation kind of does that for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many things for so many people. Everyone's going to have their thing. Yeah. And I think, for me with yoga, when I found yoga, and this is just my story, but all of a sudden, as you feel, I just think, better about yourself, you start reaching out to all these other outlets. What else can I do that makes me feel better? And so all of a sudden, either, you're doing yoga, or you want to start going for walks more often, or you want to spend more time out in nature and go hiking. All of a sudden, you're more concerned about what you're consuming and the food that you're putting in your body. And I think whenever you start to feel good, you want to know how can I get more of that feeling? And so that's when people, I think, say yoga is a lifestyle. You've kind of found that glimmer of, wow, look at this potential here that I'm really, really feeling amazing. Whether it's, all of a sudden, I'm not on the couch as often watching my favorite show. We all have our favorite shows. Don't get me wrong. But once you kind of take that first initial step, all of a sudden there just kind of snowballs into all these other things that you kind of open your eyes to.
That's a really good point. It does. It just shows you that possibilities. Like if you like the way you feel, then you can have more of it.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Yeah, and just investigate what else is out there, and you know what else I think it is like who you associate with too. Who you have in your life, and the more you do something like yoga, the more positive people you attract, and to me that's how it works.
Yeah, there's a quote I really love that says, each of us are sort of a representation of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So either we're going to dress like our 5 closest friends, we're going to act like our 5 closest friends. And so if you're someone who's decided to take yoga to a place where you're coming 3 times a week, 5 times a week, I mean, that's more than I see friends from outside of the yoga studio. So now I'm seeing these people more than I see my mom, more than I see my family, my friends back in, Maryland. And so we're starting to be these sort of echoes of each other. Oh, like, I'm happy to see you, you're happy to see me. All of a sudden, it's just a grand feeling to be around each other. Then those are the people that you're having intelligent spiritual conversations with around the dinner table. And it just kind of, again, it just snowballs into this effect of you're all sort of your own individual, but there's an echo of each other sort of in the air when you're around one another.
Well, it's the collective consciousness also. I believe
100%.
in that. I believe in that, and having, we raise a vibration. If we raise our vibration, we're going to raise everybody's, and then we gravitate towards that person. So that makes total sense.
Yeah, higher vibration. You couldn't say it any better.
Yeah, I mean, that's really how it works, right?
Well, absolutely. I'm like, as soon as you said that, I was like, why didn't I say higher vibration? I was like, definitely.
Yeah, well, I got it from you, hearing you talk. So it's really, it's wonderful that you're involved in that. So what's next for you? Anything new happening or?
Right now it's just keeping the studio as it's going and continuing to grow and keep letting people know about us and come through the door. Since we are at such a new place, I would like to see down the line talking about, your circle. And then once you have these people that you're connected to, you want to see them outside of the yoga studio. So once you start from yoga, all of a sudden, I've gone to drum circles with people that I meet at the studio. We go out to dinner. I'd like to get maybe some retreats going where we can kind of vacation together in a sense. Right. Let it be a conscious spiritual trip, but still just connecting with people on a level that's not just in those walls, to know that we're more than the vibration that's bouncing off that space, and we can take that vibration outside and again let it expand down the line again as we one day take the time to organize, because it's so much organization. But I'd love to offer some yoga trainings, but that'll definitely be a little further down the line. I'm personally ready and certified to go start teaching other people to be yoga teachers, but there's so much planning with that. So
I can imagine.
I'll slowly let that stone tumble until it's ready.
Just let that kind of evolve, right? Maybe a year or two, or
definitely maybe a year or two. Just writing the booklet for something like that. I mean, you're writing your own novel in a sense.
So are you creating the curriculum, or
yeah?
Is
So
it
if
already...
you teach your own training, you create your own curriculum.
Oh, it's not already done by somebody else.
No, you have to do everything. So
wow.
You might create a 100-page book, a 300-page book, depending on how much information you want to pack it in. So it's a lot of work.
I didn't realize that. I thought there was a standard, class that people could do.
Yeah, if you are a studio and you want to offer your training, which again, it would be our training.
Oh, okay.
So we would be creating, and granted, every training again has similarities because the body's the body, so anatomy is anatomy, but you have your way of offering it to people. There's always going to be something, again, just with yoga teachers. How one yoga teacher's for you, one's for not. One yoga training might be for you and one may not be, and I've taken a couple trainings at this point, and I've liked some more better than others, and that's okay.
Wow. Well, we're going to have to wrap up now, but I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It goes by so fast, doesn't it?
It goes by so quick. I can't believe it's over.
I know. I feel like we could talk all night, but thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you in the studio at Yoga 203.
Thank you. This was a wonderful opportunity. It was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, Katharina. And thank you to our audience for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed learning all about Katharina's journey so far and following her at Yoga 203. So come again. Every week we're here, Spiritual Connection Show, signing off. Thank you.